So,
All right, we're live.
sure.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Omer. I hope you are having a fantastic Saturday wherever you are. I'm joined here with me over here. I have Mr. Hammad Siddiqui, a LinkedIn expert, a person who has spent so many years, decades, in fact, helping people become better versions of themselves in personal, helping them with personal development. And now he has recently moved to Canada, where he's continuing on that particular journey, where he is trying to help out other folks in Canada create successful strategies to expedite and accelerate their careers in Canada. And by the way, my name is Omar. In case you don't know me, um, what I do is I'm a coach. I'm a coach in the space of mindset, in the space of building non-cognitive skills, in the space of career. So if you have questions related to that, feel free to shoot us a message. You write down your comments in the comment section below. So without any further ado, welcome, Mr. Hammad Siddiqui. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much, Umar. Thank you for inviting. I'm excited because I think this is something that I had been thinking about. And when we met, I think around February, that when we met and
It
we
was
spoke.
yeah, it was just
Yeah,
before COVID. I remember that a
that's
few
right.
weeks before COVID.
Yes, and we had nice coffee at Starbucks across
Yes,
the
absolutely.
underground station. Yeah, so no, it's very exciting because you see, I migrated with my wife when we were a young couple and almost
Hmm.
21 years ago. And we spent some time, both of our daughters were born here.
Hmm.
But then I went back because, I had an offer from Pakistan, which was pretty lucrative as compared to what I was getting here. So I went back, and only last year uh, we decided to move back to Canada. Now my elder one is going to the university,
Right.
so that was their demand also to study in a more sophisticated educational system. So I came back, but I had a very close association with Canada because more than half of my close family lives in Canada. My brother, my
That's
mother,
great.
my sister. So, and I've been a very frequent traveler to North America. So, and my own passion to work with people, to work with generation younger people in their career development process and all that, uh, kind of kept me in for looking at what the opportunities have been, how they can capitalize on those opportunities and all that. So I've been mentoring. I've been working with people since I came here in last July, almost 11
That's
months
such a
ago.
great quality to have. I think servitude is amazing. You've served your entire life, and even after coming back to Canada from Pakistan, you're still in the same space with the same amount of passion. And I think to me, to young fellas like myself, that's so inspiring and admirable. So more power to you, sir, for doing
Thank
what
you
you're
very
doing.
much. And the
So,
interesting point, what I wanted to mention here very
yes,
quickly,
please.
is that it does not matter at what level of career you are,
Mm,
whether you are at entry level or mid-career level or senior career level.
yeah,
As soon as I start this conversation with anybody in front of me about career development, I
yeah.
get attracted because people are
Mm,
confused. Although in North America there are career counseling and there are various institutes and opportunities for people to learn about career. Mostly, I would say people coming from South Asia bring in a different perspective altogether about
mm,
career. Canada gives them a shock. And one of the things that you and I are trying to do with these series is to kind of um, uh, untangle those confusions that people have in their mind, and just to build their confidence and kind of provide them some kind of a
absolutely.
strategy to move forward.
Absolutely, and I think that clarity is very important for regardless of what purpose you have in your life. Having a
Yeah.
clear mind is a gold mine, right? I say
Yeah.
like having a clear mind is a gold mine.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I have you over here with me today to share. with us your experience, your strategies of how you have overcome the obstacles in different markets, especially in Canada. So let me start off by asking you a question, Mr. Hammad. You shared with us your story. How about how you moved here? Tell me first thing, a lot of people who are coming to this particular webinar, to this particular live session, they want to understand how to create successful strategies in their career in Canada, especially. But what does success even mean? Because success means different to different people. I want to
Yes.
know, how does Mr. Hammad defines his definition of success?
Right. So first of all, Umar, uh, call me Hammad because that's the norm here. So
All right, I'll
we
call you
don't want to
Hammad.
go out of we don't want to go out of norm. So call me with my first name. Thank you. So you're absolutely right. I think success is very subjective, and like for a small toddler, getting a chocolate is success. I think people who are coming here, they have to really leave their learnings behind because it's a
Mhm.
different market altogether, different way of living. Just comparing because I talk to a lot of South Asians, I mean Pakistani, Sri Lankans, Bangladeshi, also a few Bangladeshi. The 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 fabric that they have, the social capital they have back home is very different to when they come here. So
Right.
the first thing they'll lose is the social fabric, social capital. So literally they'll have to start from zero.
Hmm.
Usually what happens is that when somebody is migrating, they have certain amount of money with them. They start calculating that money as soon as they buy a double double from Tim Horton. They try to compare it. So they all have to unlearn those things, and
Yeah.
much before actually coming here, they have to prepare themselves. That
Right.
preparation is not only for winters. I mean, I personally recommend just don't bring in anything from there because it won't work. You'll have to buy winter clothes. You have to buy winter clothing from here. If that the clothing that suits the winters that we face in Canada. A lot of them actually suffer right from the very beginning because they lose track of their career. The clock stops as soon as they're on board a plane, and
Yeah.
that's the issue. That's the issue. They don't prepare themselves career-wise before coming here. They're very
Hmm.
confused. They do a lot of some do Google search and things, but how many credible pieces of information they can find?
So
They comment.
that's a problem that you have seen, that there's a
Yes,
lack of preparation before you
yes,
move in and come into Canada.
yeah,
There's a lot of preparation from a logistics and
yeah,
winter clothing perspective, but there's not much of preparation from a career strategy
no,
perspective.
no.
And so, what would you say, if unless there are other problems that you want to dive into and define a few other issues that you have seen, a few other pitfalls that a lot of people who immigrate to Canada and they move to Canada, and or even if they're even if they're starting up a new career as students, what kind of pitfalls they fall into when they're starting up a career in
Yeah.
Canada?
So I think this is so the key thing is that the opportunities are phenomenal. I mean, those two people who
Mm,
say that there are no opportunities, I mean, you are
yeah,
from Pakistan. You came here as a student, and you progressed, and there was a process that you followed. So if you don't
absolutely.
follow a process, the chances are, I mean, depending on where you are in your age, chances of success become, less and less as you move on because you add on to your frustration and everything. So I think
Right,
preparation, and then preparation means all these educated people who come in, they know what SWOT analysis is. But tapping into the job market requires certain skills.
hmm,
What happens is people come here and they try to sell their experience. For instance,
right,
somebody who's in banking would say, I have 15 years of banking experience.
right.
Maybe banking in Bangladesh is very different from banking in Canada, and the acceptability of you have the knowledge, but it's the skill that would sell. What
Hmm.
can you do for a bank in what field? So all that understanding of the situation, as you say, rediscovering yourself is
Yeah,
something that people should do before even boarding the plane.
Right. And I think that is so important, that aspect of rediscovering yourself, because whether you were a student starting off your career in Canada, or whether you're a newcomer to Canada, immigrating to Canada and looking for jobs, I think the process that you said, following a process is important. And one of the first steps, as you say, in this process is to go a little, take a deep dive into your own self to figure out your key strengths. What are the transferable skills that you can bring to the table and offer those skills from wherever you're coming from, whether it's India, whether it's Pakistan, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's Africa, wherever you're coming from, you can bring those skills and transfer. What are those transferable skills that you can bring in and value, add value in the Canadian job market, in the Canadian economy. So this aspect, then it kind of becomes, Hammad, it kind of dwells into the aspect of self-awareness, right? It kind of dwells into the aspect of self-awareness, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I would like to pick your brain initially.
Mm,
If you can just shed your experience of your interacting with people, and sort of, how did you help them become more self-aware? I mean, we both have stories to share, but
yeah.
uh, this is just the first initial discussion, which will followed by several other webinars of similar
Yes.
kind.
And
But
that's a great point you do bring up, Ahmad, is that this is not the only session that we will have. Ahmad and I, we are planning on doing more of these sessions with you guys, with to give you more and more tools in your toolkits that you can directly use to increase your chances of success in your career in Canada. And trust me when I say this, we will provide you with tangible toolkits, with tangible exercises that you guys can do right away, right after this call, right after this webinar, just so that you can improve and make sure you are prepared, as Hammad said earlier. So, you're coming back to your question about self-awareness. It's something that absolutely I have worked a lot on myself a couple of years ago, and my after going through my self-awareness journey, Ahmad, honestly, I realized how important it was for me. And I realized as I was networking with more and more people here in Canada, I realized how important it is for everyone to go through their own cycle of self-discovery, however way they do it. So the one of the key exercises, and here's a tip on one of the key aspect of self-awareness, that you a tool that you can use is something a little sadistic, but I'm still going to go and throw it out at you. And for those listeners listening to me, is if you really want to understand your skills, your vision, start off by projecting yourself way into the future. Kind of sadistic, but imagine yourself on your deathbed. Imagine yourself in your deathbed and you are reflecting back and looking back at your life and seeing, okay, what did I accomplish? And when you are doing that exercise of reflecting on your life from the position of being in your deathbed, it gives you a lot of perspective. It gives you a lot of perspective in terms of what are your priorities in life, what is important to you as a person, as an individual, whether it's family, whether it's career, then what part of the career is important. Are you interested in continuing doing what you're doing in project management, in IT, or self development, or whatever career field you are in? Or do you want to pivot and this is something that you don't want to do? The first step is that self discovery, that self awareness. So try that exercise. And I'm going to be very open and honest with the audience who's listening over here and say that, you know what? If you are able to do this exercise of writing down your priorities by doing this exercise, projecting yourself into the future in your deathbed and looking back um, and send me your list, I'll be more than happy to have a one-on-one complimentary session with you to give you feedback and work with you on that piece. So that's one tip I can give on self-awareness, Ahmad.
No, thank you very much. Another issue that people face when they come
Mhm.
here, of course, as I said, which is perhaps one of the very key issues, in addition to many others that we face, is the sudden shock of not knowing people.
Mm.
You know, that's a big one.
Right.
If you have if you know people, then as a human, it becomes easier for us to share things with people.
Yeah.
Then those who land somewhere in October, November, they face another pretty severe dilemma that they are faced by winters, and January, February, particularly in Ontario, is pretty
Hmm.
tough, and there are other
Hmm.
parts where winter actually starts much earlier.
Yeah.
Somebody, Rockies, the winter starts somewhere in August. Well, winter never finishes there. As I've been to Rockies, there is hardly summer there. So I mean that's a big shock for somebody who is coming from whatever 40 degrees Celsius to
Yeah.
minus 40 degrees
Absolutely.
Celsius. And there's a fear then, people scared to go out because they feel that they may fall sick, uh,
Hmm.
which is not usually the case, because if you know how to deal with winters, you deal with winters.
Right.
Uh, then the networking. I wanted to come to the point where the networking. Who do you know? How do you know that person? How
Yeah.
extensive your network is. I mean, all that can be done prior to your arrival, so that you
Right.
have to have your own checklist developed, that this is
Right.
what I have to do. So just to give you my example, when I was
Yes.
finally we decided to move, even almost a year before landing in Canada, I created a Word document.
Hmm.
And on that Word document, I started putting things, my own skills. What do I know? What I
Right.
can do? How do I reinvent myself in
That
a
was
new
the first
environment?
step which we talked about, the self-awareness
Right.
piece, like
Yes. So how do
self-discovery and
I?
self-awareness.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So what I learned, of course, my learning was because I sort of stayed here for a while, and I'd been
Yeah.
traveling to various parts of the globe. In the West, particularly North America, your
Hmm.
experience is, you cannot sell your experience, or
Right.
it's very difficult to sell your experience, because
Yeah.
your experience all of a sudden becomes irrelevant.
Hmm.
What you can sell is your skills. So what are your skill set? So I mean, I still coach people. When I coach people for my LinkedIn sessions,
Hmm.
very experienced people, I said, what are your skill sets? And I don't get a response. People are still struggling, because this is something that you never thought of. You never develop an inventory of your skills.
Right.
And this is also an essential part of self-awareness, is
Absolutely.
to, it's like, you cannot, if you can lift 50 pound, and you start, if you try to lift 80 pounds, all of a sudden you won't be able to do it. You may be able to do it with some
Absolutely.
exercises, eating proper
You have
meal
to
and
create
stuff, and building your
step.
muscles.
It's a step-by-step
Right,
process.
right.
Yeah.
So this whole thing is an incremental process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anybody who tries to jump like exponentially, the fear is that you may fall down. No
Right.
matter how much money you have on your back, you come here and you start. I mean, I would not recommend buying a Ferrari. I mean, you should know, right? Even if you're bringing in with like $3-4 million with you. So
Right.
this is all part of self-awareness. It's what to eat, where to go, how to hang out, kids going to school. It's all uh, is pretty complicated when
Mm.
if you're not prepared. People come prepared, it becomes easier for them to deal with the shock.
Right.
And this networking bit really helps.
Okay. And in terms of networking, what would you recommend, like Ahmad, if you are if you are coming here as a newcomer and you don't know it, and I can completely understand the feelings people have when they're leaving all their social capital behind in their homes and starting off a career from scratch. It's nerve wracking, and I don't know how people do that. I think for me, I was very lucky that I came here at a very young age as a student, so I never really had that baggage, right? I used my youth and my timing in a way in my advantage to start building my network once I landed. So I didn't have to do that pre-work. But for people who have that baggage, who are experienced, who are leaving behind a strong social and professional network, it can be so difficult for them. If there is a tip that you can give us, for example, why are people shy of networking when they come here, or what they can do to, what is the first step they can do to get themselves out of that comfort zone to start networking?
Right. So I mean, the way I put it, very plainly, what
Hmm.
is your objective? If you have a goal in your mind, if you have an objective in your mind, the process of achieving that objective develops automatically. This is what I have learned throughout my life. So
Right.
if my so when I was so this document that I have, um, uh, I actually have written that I have to develop a network when I
Mm.
go there. So I knew, although I had some relatives, like my younger brother lives here, but
Right.
he's in a very different field. Although he's a pharmacist, so very
Okay.
extremely. I mean, I would say completely irrelevant to what I do. He's a scientist, so he goes to his pharmaceutical company, does his testing, comes back, and that's it.
Hmm.
Uh, Whereas I am like more into social side. I work with people. I mean, you and I train people and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a very different ball game for me. Even though we live together. So I
Mm.
had to develop my own social capital here. That was the primary objective that I had. So within 3 months, I should be known to people, or I should know people. Now, there are various opportunities I mean, you can get involved with church work, you can get involved with
Right.
Gurdwara work, or your mandir work, or your masjid work, and slowly get to know people.
Mm.
It helps you socialize so that you're kind of sharing your thoughts with people, you're learning from people. And your
Right.
objective should be learning, continuous learning, because you're in a very different environment. Things happen in a very different manner. Then a lot of people, I mean, I would say do not engage with depressed people. Depressed people, worried people will only add to your worries. They will not solve your worries. So
They say, right, you're the average of the five people that you hang out with. So that's what you're getting at.
that's right. So what I did, I started listing down names of people I
Mm.
knew in Canada, and
Mm.
luckily, a lot of these people are reasonably successful in their career careers,
Okay.
and I was able to talk to them. I was able to
And
share.
how were you able to talk to them while you were back there in
I mean,
Pakistan?
right. So what happens usually is that when we and this is typical to South Asians mostly, is that
Hmm.
they try to live in their shells. So one has to come out of the shell and share. Okay, this is something that I'm going to do. What do you think about it?
Right.
And you share your thoughts, you share your ideas,
Yep. Did we lose you, Ahmad? I think we lost him for a second. Some technical difficulties, perhaps at his end. Um, let's give it a few more minutes. Hello, you're back.
Sorry. Yeah. So we
Technical
got a disconnect.
difficulties.
Yes. So you speak to 10 people, you may get like one or two,
Hmm.
like, people start talking to you, and that's the starting point. There has to be a starting point. And then, as I said, gradually you grow, you build your knowledge about things. And I actually found LinkedIn as a creator, and as you said initially also,
Right.
LinkedIn is something that has been my passion.
Right.
I mean, I have taught social media marketing.
Hmm.
So Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook is something that I had been working with. But learning or trying to build your knowledge professionally and networking with professional people, I think there is no alternate to LinkedIn. A lot
Mm.
of people who come here do not realize the importance. Then usually they do not need that kind of connectivity and network when they're
Yeah.
at home in UAE or Saudi Arabia, their own jobs and all that. They don't require that. But when they come here, networking and maybe landing into a job opportunity, LinkedIn is a platform. More than
Right.
75-80% recruiters
I
search for
couldn't agree
people on
more.
LinkedIn. So if you're
Yeah.
not there, you don't exist.
They
So
say, right? They say 70% of the jobs that people get hired for, those jobs don't even exist
yeah,
on the job
what-
boards, right?
right,
They're created. And how are they created? Well, you have to create them. You have to network with people
right,
to to increase your visibility, in the job market. And you do that through various by attending different conferences, by attending different networking sessions, startup meetings, and as you said, leverage the power of digital platforms like LinkedIn. And I'm so glad we have you as a LinkedIn expert. You have been training people for such a long time on optimizing their LinkedIn profiles, as well as leveraging LinkedIn as a platform where they can use to excel and accelerate in their careers, right? So we have three really good steps. The first one we said is build your self awareness, right? Do the self discovery session. Two, network, right? Start networking, get out of your comfort zone, get out of your shell, and start networking in your communities, outside of your communities, and use LinkedIn as a powerful tool to increase your awareness, digital
visibility,
presence, visibility.
visibility. Yeah, yes,
Absolutely. That's beautiful. I like these three steps for sure. And I think what we are gonna do, Hammad, is we are gonna expand on each of these three steps in the upcoming sessions, right? That's our plan.
that's right, that's right.
That's right. So
And
we
the
will
strategy that we
deep
have, that the strategy, the learnings that we have, and once we have more audience, we will allow them to share their experiences also. Uh,
absolutely
but it's all about learning, learning by doing it. You cannot really
learning
sit
by
home
doing.
in your kiosk and try to be a smart guy. You have to learn. I mean, for me, even like my daughters
Yeah.
have learned the slangs, the language that is commonly used on the street. I don't. I mean, this is something that I lack. But I may not need it at this stage. I'm at a stage where I'm trying to do something very differently. But for young people, you're absolutely right. It's much more easier to gel into the society.
Right.
For people, above 35 years of age, the realignment is a challenge unless they don't want to realign themselves.
Mhm.
They won't be able to kind of jump onto their success journey. Very simple.
Very simple. And I think the natural next point then comes to that leads us to is how do you get yourself out of that comfort zone? How do you get out of that shell? How do you develop? And I call this ability as developing a growth mindset. Some of you may
Right.
have heard of that term. Some of you may have not heard of that term. But for those of you who have not heard of this term, growth mindset is basically, as the master of growth mindset, her name is Dr. Carol Dweck, a very renowned psychologist from Stanford University. She calls growth mindset a power of belief coupled with sheer intense focus on a singular goal, right? Is the power of your self-belief coupled with sheer focus on a singular goal. That is what you need to develop a growth mindset. And once you discover that, once you go through those steps of self awareness, learning by networking, learning through others, optimizing your LinkedIn, and getting access to more and more people and growing your network in LinkedIn, what do you do next? You've got to, at the same time, in fact, I would say simultaneously, start working on developing a growth mindset. And we, Hamad and I, we in these series, we are going to share with you our tips, our techniques to build a growth mindset. There are so many techniques that I have worked with my students, with my clients, and helped them overcome the different obstacles that they face in their brains and their minds. Because at the end of the day, we have an amazing supercomputer right between our ears, which we don't utilize to the maximum capacity. And there are tips and tricks you can do to really tweak it, to to trick your mind into becoming more robust and agile and a growth mindset. So, anything you want to, Hamad, you want to add to that point of
No,
coming out of your
absolutely.
shell?
You actually, you have sort of concluded it in a very nicer manner. Is that, and I also touched upon it, is your objective. If you have defined your objective, then you can proceed towards that objective. You can't really
Hmm.
be out there on a wild goose chase.
Yeah.
You have to be very strategic when you're when you're landing in a new country. Trying to build your next career.
Hmm.
The opportunities are phenomenal. Just to finally touch like very basic, those who came, the society is very sort of accommodating, I would say.
Hmm.
Uh, Came like in COVID time, landed here in Ontario. There's a three months waiting time to get your health card or get your
Yeah. Yeah.
right. Government waived that condition. So if you have landed, your healthcare starts that day. Now look at this. In which country do you get that?
Absolutely. Canada is beautiful. I love Canada. It's they say it to me it has been a new home after Pakistan. It's been this is my home now. I consider Canada my home. I think it has given me tremendous opportunities to express myself, to learn about myself, and to create an infrastructure where I'm not worried about external factors, right?
Yeah.
In a gratitude way, I'm so grateful for that touch wood. I'm so grateful for Canada giving me those opportunities and not creating external um, worries or blockages in my head about, oh my god, how do I worry about my medical? Oh my god, what about infrastructure from a traffic person? Traffic's not that bad. It's not great, but it's not that bad. It will still be an upgrade for majority of us coming from Middle East or India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, or even things, simple things, like there's a better education system. There's more people who are more courteous and absolutely more law abiding, you can say, right? And those create that overall environment. It becomes very conducive to having proper learning channels and developing your growth mindset.
Right. I want to share a very small story. I think
Please.
we have talked
And
in a
yeah, and before you
very
do that, sorry, I do want to say to the audience listening, please, the last 20 minutes we will be answering all your questions. So please, on the comment section, start posting your questions. Hamad and I, we will be taking your questions and we'll be answering those. So start posting them. Start posting them now. Sorry, Hamad, you were sharing a
right.
story with us in the
So
meantime.
it's the environment that coaches and teaches.
Hmm.
You put a plant in a very bad environment, plant would die. If you put a plant in a nice conducive environment, plant will grow. It will bloom. So my elder one, when she was little, like she was maybe around 3 years of age, or maybe
Mhm.
less than 3 years of age. We were here, and we were living in a condo building, and I parked my car in the basement. There was a basement parking, and we came to the elevator. There was a person there. It was an elderly person, and
Mhm.
like kids like to press this call button for the elevator. So my
Yes.
little one wanted to do it, and she like walked fast towards the elevator. But that gentleman who was there, he did not see her, and he pushed the button.
Hmm.
She went, stood close to him, and said, "Thank you, sir." And I was like shocked, honestly speaking. You know, we were never taught to say thank you to people. If
Strangers.
you have done it, you have done it. So what I'm trying to say is that even we did not taught our little one to say thank you,
Hmm.
because we were not living here, we were coming and going. So but she learned it in her like couple of months living here that you have to say thank you if somebody
Yeah.
helps you. Now, this is what I say is, you build that ability to come out of your shell, learn
Right.
things, the way things happen in this part of the
Yeah.
world. And
An
people are
environment.
very sensitive. People are helpful. Generally
Yeah.
speaking, I mean, you will always find difficult people in
They're always
Canada.
the outliers. The outliers are everywhere, everywhere
Right.
in this part of the world,
Yeah,
in the
but
globe.
overall, yeah, you're right. But overall, people are very helpful. If you have a
Absolutely.
genuine problem, and if you share that problem with them, if they can help you, they will help you.
Right.
Um, Another example,
Absolutely.
very recent one. My neighbor, he's an old fellow
Hmm.
from West Indies. Uh, in winter, it was not that bad. It was still winter.
Hmm.
He walked up to maybe another kilometers. He just wanted to go out, and
Get
he
some
fell
fresh
down.
air.
Yeah,
Oh,
he fell down.
oh,
He did not hurt himself, but he fell down,
oh.
and
Okay.
he could not get up because his I think his knees got frozen or something. He could
Mm.
not get up. So he literally crawled up to the kiosk you have, the bus kiosk that you have.
Yeah, yeah. The bus stop. Yeah.
Yes, he was just crawling there, and the bus came from the back. The bus driver saw him. He stopped. He got out of the bus, said he asked him what had happened to him, and he helped him move from that very close to that covered space. He called 911
Oh,
and
wow.
he stood there until 911 the ambulance came. So it was like the whole episode was about 10, 12 minutes. I mean, I have not experienced that in a lot of countries that I've traveled to.
Right. And
People
that's the
care about
beauty of Canada. That's the beauty of Canadians. They are
people,
genuine
right?
people, caring people, sincere people who would actually put there's true humanity. There's
Right.
true humanity in Canadians that I have experienced in the last 14 years that I have been here, and I love it. That's why to me this is my new home, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
So
So this is what
I love I love the stories. So it really, this is a pure Canadian story, right? This is what Canada is all about, you
yes.
know. And I think I love Canada for these genuine humanitarian reasons. And I think a lot of people in my social circle, they love Canada for these. Sure, the taxes are high. We all know that. We all don't like paying taxes, but there's a benefit to that, right?
Yes,
There's
absolutely.
always byproducts. So,
I mean, I
um,
don't mind paying taxes. When I was in
absolutely,
Pakistan, I was still paying about good 30, 35% into taxes, and I was
yeah.
not getting anything out of it.
Now you,
Uh,
yeah.
I
So
mean, if
your
I
reference
pay,
point was there.
yeah, if
Yeah.
I pay a similar amount, or I'm paying less than that, uh, the benefits are out there. I mean,
Yeah.
if I need something, uh, you know, there will be a way to
Right.
get it. Right? I won't be
Absolutely.
deprived. The other
Absolutely.
beautiful thing, we have a couple of more minutes. We are just encouraging people to consider, I mean, come out of their frustration and consider the good things about Canada. If they're now think about it. No matter if you're a millionaire or if you are somebody who's living on government assistance, I mean, there's a huge difference between the two. You would still go and buy your groceries at No Frills and Langos and all that, right? So if I'm buying egg, paying whatever $3 for a case, the gentleman next to me may be a millionaire buying the same case, right? The
Mm.
quality products, if I'm buying milk, I know this milk is not adulterated.
Yeah.
Um, uh, uh,
Yeah.
so and so forth. So what I mean, I had a
And
very
even in those situations, people will start, treating, will treat you similarly, right?
right.
So,
And look at life expectancy.
yeah,
In South Asia, our life expectancy uh,
absolutely. So,
is about 60, 65 years. And
yeah,
even then, when you cross 55, your life is not uh, as good as
yeah,
you had experienced that when you were at 25.
absolutely. Yeah,
But
and I think those
their
are
life
definitely a
starts.
lot of advantages of
Yeah,
Canada that there are over a lot of other countries. Just to be a little conscious of the time,
Sure.
we it's 11:40. We have 20 minutes that we said for our audience to post their Q&A. The first question comes to us from Saima Patel. She's asking Ahmad, the common perception is that for sisters, it is a bit more challenging, or for females basically, to it's a bit more challenging to network. What is your opinion on that?
Um, Saima, I think it's a great question, but think about it. A lot of challenges we create in our own minds, and
Hmm.
it's our perception.
Yeah.
And perception may not be true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, I would think, Canada being a society where, there are females working everywhere, um,
Absolutely.
I think it's a wrong perception. Now, if we say it, so kind of rephrase your question. How can a female uh, network effectively in the society? If you put a question like that, I
Mm-hmm.
think it could be a different answer. But you're to respond, I mean, because it's a closed question that you asked, I think my response is it's your perception. And even if you talk about challenges, and we spoke about challenges throughout our
Mm-hmm.
discussion, challenges are for people regardless of their gender, really.
Yeah.
Um, I would not say that as a society there is any restriction or limitation for any gender, be it LGBT or a
Yeah.
female or a male, to network. There are communities, there are opportunities. I mean, how do we explore these opportunities is bigger, uh, a bigger thing to see, actually.
Right. Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more with you about the fact that, hey, sometimes, and I have experienced this myself firsthand, a lot of the limitations that I was creating, that I felt there are limitations for me, they were honestly in my own head. And hopefully, once we get into the growth mindset session, we will talk about coming out of those limitations, giving you strategies and tips on how do you get yourself out of those limiting negative thoughts. It's called killing ants. That's what it's called, killing automatic negative thoughts, right? And it's about creating that perception, and changing your perspective about the world, and being open, as Hamad said earlier. Be open, be brave, get your foot out of the door, start networking, and you will see that this country is very, very welcoming to people from different cultures, from diverse backgrounds, regardless of your gender, regardless of your orientation. Like, they're very, very welcoming. So I hope that answers your question. Before we go on to the next question, which we will quickly do that, I just want to share my screen very quickly, just so that people have a understanding of our upcoming sessions. So here are some of our upcoming sessions. So today we did the introduction, but next week on the 20th of June, same time, 11 a.m., we will be taking a deep dive into self-awareness. Remember, in this session, as a quick summary, we spoke about the four obstacles, or the four steps towards building a successful career. The first one is self-discovery and self-awareness. So the next session, next Saturday on 20th June, will be focused on self-awareness. Again, it will be me and Hamad. Both of us will be there with you. Number two, the second step in the process is to start networking. Start networking. They say your net worth is equal to your network, right? So based on that saying, we are going to do an entire session on networking strategies. Then on the next Saturday, 4th of July, we will talk about LinkedIn, and we have the expert in house, Hamad, who will be sharing a lot of tips and tricks and strategies for optimizing LinkedIn. And last but not the least, we will wrap up this series by talking about something I love talking about, which is the growth mindset, which has really, really changed and transformed my life in the last 3 to 4 years. And I really hope that this entire series helps each and every one of you. So, with that, let's go on to the next question. The next question that we have is from Hashmi. Hashmi is asking if you connect, and this is regarding, I think, LinkedIn optimization. It says, if you connect with someone on LinkedIn, how should you approach them if a job comes in a company? A lot of people think you should forward your resume. I don't think if it's the right approach, but why don't you advise? So, Ahmad, what's your take on it? I have
Well,
my own take on it. I want to hear
right.
your.
Now, see, when we will do a deep dive into LinkedIn, we will talk in more detail. But let's because there's a
Yeah,
question, and I would really like to help whoever is out there asking one.
Hashmi.
Uh,
Yeah, it's
so, yeah, so think about it. You do not know someone, you're connected with someone on LinkedIn,
mhm,
but you don't know the person, right? And there is a job in that company, and you ask for help. Now, there are various ways of asking help. It's all about how do you phrase your question or your seek for help. Uh, if you phrase it nicely, then there's a chance that the person would help.
mhm.
If you just dump a CV on someone in an attachment, uh, highly unlikely. The
Yeah.
other thing much before that, why people do not get the same kind of traction that I get or Umar you get on LinkedIn is that we have built our reputation on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
People know us through our profiles, through we really worked hard on our profiles. We really are in the as you have the growth mindset, and I said, we are out there to help people.
Right.
We are in the, and it's not that we are not making money. I mean, I make money out of LinkedIn profile optimization, and I
Mhm.
charge decently. It's not a free meal for people. But if somebody comes to me and asking, what is wrong with my profile? If I have to just tell that person that, okay, your profile has this issue or these issues, that's a help to someone, right?
Mhm.
So if you have a profile which is near dormant, if it's just out there and you're thinking that somebody would see that profile and would get excited about it, it does not happen that way.
Mhm.
So if you build your reputation, when I say reputation, we will talk more about it in our session. Your posts and all
Yeah.
that actually creates the reputation, your social, value
Right.
on LinkedIn. Then it becomes easier. Only yesterday, I was trying to help. So I have a client who I'm working with on
Mhm.
his LinkedIn profile. He is highly educated. Did his master's in QA engineering from
Mhm.
Concordia, a
Nice.
3.9 GPA, looking for a job.
Mhm. Okay, I think we lost Hamad once again. um, Hamad, you're there?
Sorry,
That's not a problem. I think you're back, but your video is stuck, and that's fine. While I think Hamad is trying to overcome his technical challenges, I can also take a
I
stab
think
at this particular
it's my
question.
phone.
Oh, there you
No,
go. You're back.
it's my phone that's heating up, so I may only have about 5 more minutes
I
before
think that's perfect because
it may go down.
yeah,
If you
it's the
have more
1 hour.
questions, then right, I can always respond offline.
And I would
But the thing
encourage
is
you
that
to post one or two more questions because we still have a few more minutes. But yeah, please
we
go
can
ahead.
go quickly. I mean, if this thing dies, then I'll go on my laptop and I'll connect with you.
That's
Uh,
fine. I
uh, Now the thing is, this gentleman. So I looked. So this is a paid service that I'm providing him, right? But on the sidelines, or I said, okay, this gentleman doesn't have a network. So I used
mhm,
my network.
yeah.
I wrote to a couple of people, 3, 4 people. One person responded, and this person responded and actually helped me. Okay, saying this company doesn't have these
Mm,
opportunities, but asked your contact to look for some opportunities that have just been out in this company. So the guy was
right,
already in the market. So what I'm trying to say is the reputation that you build with. So I
right.
did not
And
bump
it's a
a CV
long-term
onto him.
process, right? It's a
Yeah.
long-term process. And to answer the question, Then Hashmi asked about, a lot of people think you should forward your resume. I don't think that's it. Right. That's correct. In my opinion as well, that is correct. Don't just dump resumes. And networking, when it comes to networking and LinkedIn, I always go with the notion of you have to invest in building a long-term meaningful relationship, right? You have to invest in building a long-term meaningful relationship. The reason why I add the word meaningful is because at the end of the day, yes, people are helpful, people are kind, but you cannot expect to just taking and taking. You have to give, right?
Absolutely.
You have to give. Think about when you're coming to the table, when you're working with your manager, with your boss, or with your with anybody in any kind of relationship. If you are a person who's always is taking, that relationship will get sour very, very quickly. Maybe the first time the person will be like, okay, fine, I'll give you an introduction. Okay, maybe fine, I'll refer you for a job. But the third and the fourth time, you will start the relationship. So you have to come up with strategies and think again. It goes back to the self awareness. What skills are you bringing to the table that you can help the other person out as well? So my tip on networking is to start thinking about what do you bring to the table and how
Right.
can you benefit this person. So if you watch any for example, I do the YouTube series on secrets of greatness where I have different guests coming on the show. I always ask them, you know what, this is something you're doing for me, but tell me what I can do for you, whether it's even connecting you with somebody in my network, as simple as that, or it could be something as simple as creating a poster for them and advertising and promoting their brand, their company to my network. And it doesn't have to be anything big, it doesn't have to be something that will take too much effort. It can be something simple. So think about what you can give back to that person when you're networking and offer your help, right? Don't just take, give. That's my advice.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the quite. Oh, Saima has basically now rephrased her question to asking how can a female network effectively. So I don't know if
Okay.
you want to take a quick stab at that one,
Yeah, yeah, why
Hammad. So
not? Why not?
while we have 5 minutes, and
Why
then
not?
we will wrap up our
Right.
first session.
Right. So before I respond to Saima, I would request viewers who would watch maybe offline when we are not live, is to kindly share this video with your social network, on YouTube or in Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter,
Mhm.
because ultimately Umar and I are trying to help people, and
Right.
your 2 cents or maybe just 1 cent will be pushing that share button to share it with your network. Maybe few people would get benefit out of it. um,
Absolutely. Thank you
so
for bringing
Simon,
that up. Appreciate it.
sorry. Yeah, so Simon, if, absolutely. So as a professional, um, I mean, what I say for entrepreneurs and professionals, gender does not exist. Gender does not mean anything.
Right.
This is the first thing you should really think about. At least I think about that way. So, for
Especially in
instance,
the 21st century, the kind of movements that we have, the current movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, it's what is it all? It's all about eliminating that aspect of racism, colorism, whatever gendericity, whatever you call it. It's all about removing those biases, right? So sorry
right.
to cut you off, but yeah.
No, that's fine. Uh, the other thing is that, once you are out of that shell, that
Hmm.
you thinking, okay, I am a professional. I am going to network with professional people.
Hmm.
You may find people who are not as good as you think they may be, right? Block them. Very simple. You're on social network, you can block them. And
Hmm.
LinkedIn really provides that opportunity. I would strongly suggest to follow some of the guidelines that LinkedIn provides
Hmm.
on blocking people and how do you deal with that. Like for instance, if you're accepting invites from people, accept invites. Don't just go out and accept all the invites. All the
Right.
relevant people. So I do. I'm an open networker because that's my business model, right? So I
Mm.
accept everything. I accept garbage also. Uh, People selling cryptocurrencies and everything. I accept it. But when they start kind of
But
trying to
don't
convince
follow
me
that
of
because you want to be strategic. Don't follow that because that Ahmad is only doing that because that's he's in the business of
right,
helping people optimize LinkedIn.
right.
But you
This is what
don't
I'm
do that.
saying. So I block them. I block
Yeah.
them. Now, your own personality as to how do you project yourself is really important when you're
Right.
networking with people. Uh, People is, if somebody trying to, do something indecent, right? I'm
Yeah.
trying to find a nicer word for it. But if there is an indecency, it's your choice not to continue that relationship, that
Absolutely.
working relationship. But there is more to come when we talk about when we have the LinkedIn session as to how to network, how to be out there, and what are some of the things to avoid to kind of protect your own on your profile and your own domain. But just don't be afraid. Just
Yeah.
be out there and talk to people. It's a great community, great society, I would think.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that advice. I think it's very especially in the 21st century economy where we are living right now, is a diverse country like Canada. I don't think um, gender exists as such anymore. So we have to get out of that shell of ourselves. And sometimes it can be very difficult because of all the different biases and all the baggage that we all come with. But it is a conscious effort that each and every one of us has to take to move in that direction of diversity, of inclusion, and promote Canada as that land of opportunities for everyone and anyone and everyone equally, right? That's what Canada is all about. So, Hammad, thank you so much for this informative session. I really appreciate having you. And each and every one of our viewers who logged in, I saw our numbers kept going up and now they have come down, but that's fine. I'm so glad you guys took an hour of your time, of your investment to come in and join us. Please do join us next week as well for the next session, which is on the topic of self awareness. Just a quick summary of today's session. We spoke about what are the different challenges that people face when they're starting off their careers, either as a newcomer in Canada or as students in Canada. Number one is the aspect of lack of self awareness and preparation, right? So the first session next week we will do is we'll talk about and we'll give you more tips and strategies on building your self-awareness. How do you go about? It's not a one-time process, not a one-time exercise. It's an iterative process, right? Then the second thing is the lack of social capital when you come to a new country, or even when you're starting off as a student in Canada. There's it's you got to network, you got to start networking, and Hammad will talk about that in our third session, which will be on 27th June, all about networking, how you can benefit from networking. And then he'll talk about LinkedIn optimization strategies, how to leverage a digital platform like LinkedIn, where we have millions and millions of professionals out there, how you can leverage those professionals to improve your career success. And last but not the least, we will take a deep dive into how to cultivate a growth mindset, which is something I think we should practice not just for career success, but even for our personal success with our relationships, with our friends, our families, and everyone, right? So that's it from me. And thank you so much for logging in today. I really had a blast. I had a good time. And hopefully, this session was useful to each and every one of you who's viewing it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hammad sir. We are going to
Thank you
be
very
logging
much,
off. Take
and
care.
looking forward to our next session next Saturday. Please help us reach out to more people because
Yes.
this is what we aim at. Trying to kind of bridge that gap, the knowledge gap that is out there. And I'm sure with the successive sessions, more people will come and join us. So See you next week again.
See you next week.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Please do subscribe to the channel and please do share, as Hammad said. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
wonderful
Bye bye.
weekend, guys. Bye bye.